Coming up on Hands on Tech, let's take a look at a complex topic. It's YouTube and copyright strikes. Stay tuned.
This is TWiT.
Hello and welcome to Hands on Tech. I am Mikah Sargent, and today we are taking a look at an interesting question from one of our listeners. David has written in with the following question. David says, I understand about copyright laws, which already right there, I'm like, I'm interested because I tell you, those things are complicated. Anyway, David says, I really don't understand how others can post videos that can stay on YouTube for years, but if I post exactly the same content, mine gets blocked. The other posts are not from the original creator. Do they get permission or do they just get lucky? Can you explain why? So, David, this is a very complicated topic, and honestly, some of it is black box, black magic, meaning that you just don't know what might be going on, what might be happening behind the scenes. But I want to kind of break things down a little bit and talk about the way that YouTube handles this first and foremost and most regularly before we kind of get into what else might be involved here. So, YouTube introduced a really, I think, complex and I hesitate to say cool, but it is cool in the sense of what it's capable of doing. Cool system that's called Content ID. And the way that Content ID works is people who own content, copyright holders, I shouldn't say, because it's not always necessarily the person who strictly owns the content, but the person who owns the copyright for the content these people are able to upload content to YouTube's Content ID system. And it creates a database, or it goes into the database that Alphabet, the parent company of YouTube, has in place. And from there, then that gets compared with what gets uploaded to YouTube. So I want to give an example. I think that's the best way to kind of understand this. I am the copyright holder of a song that I created, right? Which, I didn't get a record deal. I just did this myself. And my song is Foyer. It's very good. And I think it's going to go places. And I don't want anybody stealing my song unless they plan on paying me for it. So I go into the Content ID system and I upload the song to this Content ID system. And what that does is it basically gives the system permission to understand the song, on a digital level. And then anytime a new video gets uploaded to YouTube, then YouTube, as part of the sort of ingestion process, is going to see if the numbers, essentially, that the data that make up the YouTube file I've just uploaded compares to anything in that Content ID database. And sometimes this happens immediately. Sometimes it happens over time. If something's been up for a while and then somebody uploads a new bit to Content ID, obviously it's going to take a while before it gets through the whole, because you're constantly having to scan everything and see if it matches, right? So this can take some time, but essentially if somebody out there uploads my song playing over their photo slideshow, and they didn't pay me for it or get my permission in some way, and I've uploaded it to Content ID, then Content ID is going to go, oh, that's Mikah's song, and he said, no, you can't have it, and will then take that video down. But here's the thing. Depending on the copyright holder and what decision they make regarding the content, this may play out in different ways, because a copyright holder has the option to say, I don't want the video to be taken down. What I want is the video can stay up, but if there are ads that are being run on that video, then I get the money for that ad, for that video. Or if the person has uploaded it and they've done it without monetizing, meaning it's just there, but there's no, there aren't ads turned on, I can say, if it's got my song in it, you need to turn on ads and I'm going to get paid for it. So you can say, don't let that video be viewed. You can say, run ads on it, or if there are ads running on it, that's my money. Or you can do something as simple as say, you know what? I'd just like to see myself, what is the viewership of this video? Because maybe, you know, the person that uploaded it with their photo slideshow of their dogs is popularizing my song. So in that case, I just want to know how many people are viewing it. And then maybe I can make the choice later to monetize it. But again, this is an automated process. And consider the fact that it's not just, you know, once I add this song to Content ID, it's not just new stuff that people add to YouTube that needs to be scanned to see if it is being stolen, right? To this day, I still get emails from Instagram telling me that one of the songs that one of the videos that I have on Instagram is being either taken down or is being demonetized or whatever it happens to be in different locations because someone uploaded to Content ID and said, this is mine, and nobody can have it. So think about the sort of constant churn that's taking place there, David, and why something that has been up for a long time maybe just isn't getting around to getting that churn yet to be scanned to say, oh, this is using copyrighted content. So that is one of the main reasons why. Sometimes you say they post exactly the same content. David, unless you have access to their original file and your original file, there's no way to know that it is truly exact. And when it comes to Content ID matching, that's important because it turns out there have been ways to circumvent the system. If you've ever typed in the name of an episode of a show that's airing or has aired at one time, and suddenly you find that you're able to watch it on YouTube and you're going, I thought this was a show I had to pay for via a subscription. You may notice that the video is mirrored, or it's upside down, or it's slightly stretched, or the audio has everybody's pitches dropped by, a little bit. All of those are ways to circumvent Content ID. There are limitations to the matching ability. So if somebody is altering it in some way, that could be why. So David, you may be uploading the original version of an ACD song as a background track for whatever it is that you've uploaded, but the other person has done so and they've adjusted things by 2 semitones and they have added in, a blip every now and then. And all of that could be reasons why Content ID is not able to identify it. It turns out that short clips sometimes might not trigger a match. Also, lower quality video or audio files may not trigger a match. It's just not a perfect system. So in that way, I suppose luck is playing a role. But I think luck and longevity, longevity is not the right word, but sort of history, are playing in this person's favor potentially. Of course, some content might not even be in the database at all, but you are talking about kind of the same and yours is getting taken down. So in this case, it probably is the case. There are times when copyright holders might do sort of selective enforcement. Maybe, for some reason you were the one that they came across. And so yours specifically, maybe it's not as automatic, yours gets pulled. It could be that, they had originally just said, hey, if the content, if this content is matched, I just want to see the views. They see yours and it's not getting many views, but there's one that's popular. And so I'm going to go, you know what? I don't want the one that's getting few views to be able to use this because I want this one that's like taking off to be the one that gets to share my song and make it more popular. So yeah, there are just loads of different reasons, which of course finally gets to the big one, which is that yes, in some cases, they are licensing the work. As someone who uploads, you've probably seen a place where you can say, I have licensed this. Or if your content gets Content ID matched, you can dispute by saying, I have a license for this, and then share that license. So Oftentimes that stuff happens automatically in the background, but occasionally, again, because Content ID is not perfect, that falls through. And so it ends up being something that you have to correct afterward. So yeah, David, I'm afraid to say that it's very hard to know exactly what's going on, but literally any of those many things I just talked about could be the reason why this specific video got through and yours did not. And you may feel like all of yours are getting blocked. Again, it could be that you are just, maybe it's that they're lucky. Maybe it's that you are unlucky. And so Content ID is quickly spotting your video as a copy. And that is where I recommend looking elsewhere for, stuff that you can use. Creative Commons stuff is a great option, or royalty-free content. There are loads of ways to be able to post stuff on YouTube and other sharing platforms without running into the issue of it being taken away from you. All right, we've got a little bit of follow-up next, but I want to take a little moment here to remind you all about Club TWiT at twit.tv/clubtwit. When you join the club for $7 a month, that's it. You get access to our ad-free content. Yes, all of our shows ad-free, just for you. And we'd love to have you in the club. You also get access to the TWiT Plus bonus feed that has extra stuff you won't find anywhere else behind the scenes. Before the show, after the show, special Club TWiT events get published there. And that means that you're going to gain a huge back catalog of stuff you get to download and check out that you may not have heard about even. So that part's really exciting. It's got like a grab bag, right? And then, of course, access to the members-only Discord server. A fun place to go to chat with your fellow Club TWiT members and also those of us here at TWiT. We are offering a 2-week free trial. So now's the time to join the club. Check it out, see if it's for you. And then from there, become a member for just $7 a month. Thank you to our Club TWiT members, and thank you to our future Club TWiT members. We appreciate it. All right. The follow-up comes in from Jerry. Jerry had written in to ask about some issues that he was having where he was plugging in his iPhone on his Windows machine to do backups, and it just wasn't working. He couldn't get the iPhone to show up. And I had mentioned that depending on what set of software Jerry had installed on his Windows machine, it may cause iTunes to cease functioning on Windows because Apple is trying to move away from the iTunes app on Windows and move to kind of purpose-built apps for different functionality. So Jerry said this: "Thanks for answering my question. Much appreciated. I should have mentioned I had Apple devices installed as well. So to be clear, Apple devices is the program on Windows that gives you the ability to do the sort of backup and device management of Apple devices. And because that was installed, it had moved Jerry into the bucket of people who are losing access to iTunes because Apple wants to get rid of that. And so the second that you install one of the newer generation tools, then iTunes as the older generation tool ceases complete functionality, meaning that there is still some functionality, but it's limited." Jerry says, "I didn't know that Apple devices basically took over iTunes if both were installed." So that's what I was just talking about. "After listening to the podcast, I made sure my music was transferred to Apple Music." So basically, going in iTunes and making sure that that full library of content, because it sounds like Jerry's not using Apple Music, the streaming service. And so taking, his files from iTunes, popping them into Apple Music or making sure that they're actually showing up there is the case. And then he says, "And then I uninstalled iTunes. Besides backing up to iCloud, I like to back up to my XPS, and I couldn't with iTunes any longer after devices was installed. After backing up to my laptop via Apple devices, I uninstalled iTunes. All is well." So yes, there's a reminder to those of you on Windows who are trying to manage their Apple devices. Apple wants you to leave iTunes in the dust, and that means getting the purpose-built apps from Apple, including Apple devices for managing your devices, Apple Music for managing your music, and I think that it's like, Apple TV for managing your media content outside of music. Once you've done that, you're living the future, baby. And that's what you want. So thank you, Jerry. And thank you to all of you for tuning into this week's episode of Hands on Tech. We appreciate it. I'll be back next week with more. Be sure to reach out. hot@twit.tv is how you send in your delightful questions. And I thank you for your detailed and in-depth questions. I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.
At TWiT.tv, you don't have to choose between Apple and Microsoft. You can get it all in one place. Tune into MacBreak Weekly, iOS Today, and Hands on Mac for up-to-the-minute Apple news, app tips, and in-depth event breakdowns. For the Microsoft enthusiast, Windows Weekly delivers top coverage on Windows, Surface, Xbox, and more. And Hands on Windows offers practical, real-world advice. Security Now gives you the latest in cybersecurity insights for both, from product launches to software updates and all those great events. TWiT.tv covers it all. Discover the best of both worlds at TWiT.tv. Subscribe today.